What are the common pitfalls that we see a lot of writers run into? Together, let's have a look at a little sample that's been sent to me, and I'll run you through some of the feedback items that I gave back. So I got a message from a one-shot writer the other day asking how they can enhance their character's first encounter, their introduction, the first time that they're mentioned in the story. They were basing the creature in their story on the xenomorph featured in Ridley Scott's Alien, and so I got them to send it over to me so I could read what they'd already written, and this was going to be our jumping off point. The context they provided is the protagonist has just come face to face with the alien, and that's it. So for this, I'm just going to call the protagonist Jess. And I know the context is vague, but we can work with it. There's a lot we can play around with in terms of environment and characters. So let's have a look at what they've come up with first, and then how we can adjust it. The alien was lean and muscular, covered in a smooth black exoskeleton, making it look somewhat insect-like. Its head was large, the back of its skull stretching behind it, with its teeth bared, covered in an ooze which didn't seem to stop flooding the monster's mouth. Its claws were long and just as black as the rest of it, clacking against the floor as it stood taller, but remained slightly hunched. A long black tail, the length of its body, with a long bladed tip, slid along the ground like a snake. And then he goes on to talk about the primal fear that Jess, the protagonist, felt in that moment. So what can we learn from this? What works about it, and what can we improve on? Firstly, we're in third person, but not limited third person for this passage at least. And that's because in third, typically the narrator has access or insights to the thoughts, the feelings, the internal experiences of one specific character. However, in the passage provided here, the narrator exclusively describes the external appearance of the alien without delving into the character's internal state, so we're more likely dealing with third-person objective. What this tells us is that the narrator is neutral. They're observing, they're reporting, they're just watching as it unfolds, so we can use this to our we can use this to our advantage because they're experiencing it with us rather than having information that we're not privy to, that we don't have. The verbs used as well all tell us that this was past tense too, so we'll keep that in mind. Although I want to stress that I'm not going to be rewriting this. I'm just going to be giving constructive feedback, sort of spinning the story in my own words, providing feedback opportunities to this writer to enhance their own work. I don't want to write this, it's not my piece, it's not my place, but I will sort of just roll with whatever comes into my head. So what else have we got here? We've got strong visual detail, muscular and lean, smooth black exoskeleton, insect-like, got teeth bared, got claws, long black tail, long bladed tip. We've got excellent visual detail here, and we've got great word choices as well here. Covered in ooze, the insect-like once again, this simile here, slid along the ground like a snake. All beautiful word choices, adds to the tone, adds to that eerie, dark feeling of the scene. We also have some sensory details included in terms of sound just here, clacking against the floor. However, it is limited and we want to expand on that. Okay, so we have a really great first draft to work from, so how are we going to enhance this piece? First off, let's start with getting some environment in there, and then we're going to follow up with some senses as well. So let's say they're in the woodlands, they're in the woods at night. This is going to enhance our character as well, because it's not a contrast, it's working with him. He's jet black, he's pretty quiet from what I can tell. Also, a quick disclaimer here, I've only ever watched the first Alien one time and it was a few years back, so I might get a few details wrong about him, but I reckon it still works for a spin-off for one shot like this. The environment is a moonlit forest. Our creature is going to be from outer space, so it's big, it's quite quiet, like an assassin, so we could play on that. We could say something like, it was a creature not of this world. It exuded an aura of terror and it gracefully moved its enormous weight with deadly silence. Okay, that works. Let's move on to another element. So it's glossy and it's black, so let's use the environment to enhance this further as well. We're going to be thinking about the reflections and the interactions that we can have with the windy canopy overhead. So we could say something like, its obsidian carapace reflected the dim speckled patches of moonlight that breached the canopy overhead. As it passed into shadows, it became almost invisible. Okay, great. Now we've enhanced the character and we know more about the setting. So now let's start getting some senses in there. Remember, this thing is from space, so maybe it can't see. I don't really know, but I feel like there's not much use for eyes out in the vast void of space. So we're considering character history here. I feel like it might have better use of other senses like hearing or touch, so we're going to play on that. So the leaves on the floor, the fallen branches, our protagonist, Jess. These are all things that we can use to help show the precision of its hearing. So let's go with something like The elongated skull was devoid of eyes, however, it didn't need them. With each twig snap, each leaf rustle, each passing breeze, its head would snap to attention. Great, it means we can establish its hearing through an observation, as remember we're in third person objective here, so we're impartial, we don't feel what it's feeling, we don't sense what it's sensing. Right, let's carry on and finally bring our protagonist into this situation to establish some sort of proximity. We're going to do some character chemistry here as well. Not positive chemistry, she's fearful of it. So Jess, we're going to have her panicked. Maybe her breathing's picking up in pace or stopping because of it. This will be down to the character's MBTI category, or whether they're an extrovert, introvert, brave, not brave, anything like that. That's something we can do here to show. So in my mind, the character is quite scared, quite shy, quite within themselves, introverted. So I'm going to make her scared. I'm not going to say she's scared directly. I'm going to show it through her breathing. Jessie's breathing faltered at the sight of it. The creature's head locked onto her direction. It bared several rows of long, sharp, metallic teeth. As she stood, frozen, just a matter of meters in front of it. As it widened its mouth, Jess felt the cool air escape. Its cool breath carried the acrid stench of copper and gunpowder with it, and it stung Jessie's throat more with every nervous inhale. Okay, so I did state she was nervous in the end, but we got a lot of character reaction, and that tells us what she's feeling, even though we can't say internally she's feeling scared. We've shown it through the laboured breathing, we've shown it through the inhales that she's taking in. And also, there's a couple of things to note here. Again, I've assumed that it's cold-blooded because I feel like there's not a lot of opportunities for heat in space. I could be wrong on that. And I'm also suggesting here that we start using some more active description throughout. I want more dynamic elements here. The jaw opening, the character passing under the tree canopy. We can go further with this too. And that's what I advised. I said we can look at things like dragging the tail, the moonlight glinting off the blade tip of the tail, the impressions it leaves as it passes over the soggy leaves on the forest floor. If it's a sticky creature, we could have a leaf maybe cascade down and stick to its skin, something like that, or shell in this case. And also another thing to note is that we used breathing here to introduce some of those smells, that horrible metallic smell cutting through what would otherwise be fresh air and some damp earth. And that's again just to show he's not from here, he's in contrast to this natural environment, he seems unnatural. Great, so I think we've now got enough to offer this character before the action takes place. And we've integrated it, we've got our author's original gorgeous visual elements and that static description that worked strong at the start. But we're enhancing this, not replacing it, by providing texture through the senses, smells, tastes, touch, reactions to sound. We've remained faithful to the tense and the point of view, and we've also transitioned our details to a more modernistic, dynamic style of detail. It's allowing us to bring the reader into the scene, as opposed to just looking through a window and observing. We've provided stronger characterization for the alien, for the xenomorph, and in turn, we have a more memorable and emotional impact on the reader. And all of these elements work together synergistically to enhance the immersion in the scene, in the scene. That's why readers stay invested, they stay interested, and they don't prose skip. We don't want them to skip to the next bit of dialogue like a lot of people do, because if I remember correctly, this alien dude does not speak, so that would be really detrimental to the piece. So I hope you enjoyed the example. I hope you've gotten some insight into different ways that you can enhance your own character introductions. Consider their physical attributes and how they interact with the environment around them. Consider their history, where they're from, how this has enhanced or limited them. And consider introducing those senses: touch, taste, smell, hearing and sight. And where possible, try to have a balanced blend of active and static description, because all of these elements together will help you flesh out your characters so much more. Now, if you want advice on anything, please leave a comment below and we'll see what we can do to help enhance the overall writing community together. Bye for now.